Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. I'm Agatha May, and in this episode, we'll be covering a developing case that spans from Kansas to Utah. That's right, all the way from the breadbasket of America to the Mormon basket that's filled with non-caffeinated beverages. Ephren Taylor is 65 years old and is a pastor who lives in Overland Park, Kansas, and has a church, Johnson County Church of Christ, in Shawnee, Kansas. Both Shawnee and Overland Park are part of the Kansas City metro area. According to the Kansas Secretary of State's website, the church was formed in 2001, and as of the last filing in 2022, there were a total of 40 congregants. I don't know if Ephren works outside of the church, but the Taylor's house is valued at almost $500,000. So those 40 members must like to give. Ephren visited Nephi, Utah earlier this month for what was reported by his attorney, Jacob Gunter, to be business affairs. But Ephren allegedly chose to spend part of his business fair time being a complete disgusting piece of human waste. Ephren was arrested in Millard County, Utah on October 4, 2024, and charged with rape, forcible sodomy, aggravated kidnapping, forcible sexual abuse, and intentional abuse or neglect of a vulnerable person. The victim is a 22-year-old woman who was reported as having the mentality of an 8 to 10-year-old. According to the victim, Ephren approached her while she was walking to work and asked her to go with him to an unspecified location. The victim declined and said she had to go to work. So they exchanged phone numbers with plans to meet later. Ephren showed up at her work and tried to get her to leave early, but she declined. He came back and picked her up after work and told her they were going bowling. Instead, Ephren pulled the car over, raped her, assaulted her, and then tried to get her to go back to his place in Nephi. It's unclear if he was renting a place or if he owns a house there, but I was unable to find his name on any deed. The victim told Ephren she didn't want to go with him, and he took her home. The victim then called the police and reported her assault, and police had to scramble to get an arrest warrant as Ephren was planning on returning to Kansas soon. But he was arrested, and even though his attorney tried to convince the judge to let him out on bail, the judge declared Ephren a danger to society and said no to the bail. So Ephren is now making friends in the Millard County Jail and eating brownish-gray food that is slopped onto a tray. He's awaiting a waiver hearing on November 6th. During this hearing, Ephren can plead guilty and waive his rights to a trial. I'm not convinced that Ephren will do that, though. I admire this woman so much. It took bravery and fortitude to call the police and report her assault. I'm sure she had to endure all of the testing that occurs afterwards as well, which can be re-traumatizing. I hope she is in a safe place with safe people who can give her the nurturing that she needs right now. I'm guessing that Ephren thought the victim didn't have the mental ability to realize what had happened, much less report it. So had he already stalked her and purposely chose her because of her vulnerability? Whatever the case, it sounds as though he severely underestimated her. When looking at the church's information on the Secretary of State's website, I learned that Ephren's church once had an adult daycare, which is just what it sounds like, a daycare for adults who require supervised care. People who might be like Ephren's victim. With the charges that have been filed, this is so disturbing to me that his church had this daycare. I'm left to wonder if this is Ephren's first time assaulting someone vulnerable, or just the first time he was caught. And while Ephren doesn't have any previous charges or even any traffic violations on his record, the Taylors aren't strangers to the court system. His son, Ephren Jr., was arrested in 2014 on federal charges of conspiracy, multiple counts of mail fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. Jr. was the chief executive of City Capital Corporation based in North Carolina, and he and his partner, Wendy Connor, would travel to mostly African American churches across the country on a building wealth tour to convince parishioners to invest in small businesses, such as laundromats, gas stations, juice bars, and also invest in sweepstakes machines. Sweepstakes machines are pay-to-play and are loaded with various games and pay out cash prizes. Junior and Wendy told investors that these machines would get them a 300% return and were 100% risk-free. Junior also told investors that 20% of their investment would go to charity. He just failed to mention that he and his partner were the charity, and the 20% was just a guesstimate. I don't think Junior is very good with percentages. Junior and Wendy convinced over 400 churchgoers across the country to invest nearly $16 million. So maybe Junior bought Mama and Daddy their almost $500,000 house. The victims used their retirement accounts to invest in Junior and Wendy's Ponzi scheme. Some people lost their entire savings, had their homes foreclosed on, and lost all of their financial stability. A Florida attorney, Kathy Lehrman, represented some of the victims in a class action lawsuit and said that in her 30 years of being an attorney, it was the first time she had to talk clients out of ending their own lives. I wonder if Junior used his daddy's status as a pastor to earn the trust of his victims. I'm discovering that the "I'm a pastor, I can do no wrong" seems to be a pretty popular and an unfortunately effective ruse. In 2015, Junior was sentenced to 19 years and 7 months in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $15,590,752.81. I'm sure Junior's going to have that paid off in no time. He is serving his time at the federal prison in Yazoo City, Mississippi. Spendy Wendy was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison and ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $5,818,299.13. I was going to go easy on Wendy because I thought maybe she just got caught up in Junior's scheme and didn't really know what she was getting into until it was too late. But then I looked at her arrest record, and I'm not sure Wendy has ever known how to write a check that wasn't hot. She's also had past arrests for petty larceny and larceny. I also discovered that a couple of years before her arrest, Wendy had a business and the name was Gold Diggers. Well, I guess she could claim honesty in advertising. I will give her credit for staying out of trouble since her stay in federal prison, so hopefully she's turned a new leaf. You know what else is crazy about Junior's case? He has written 3 books, and all 3 are still for sale on Amazon. They're about creating success in your life, about running a business, and about how to invest in real estate. Why does Amazon carry the books of someone who is serving time in federal prison for scamming people out of their money? Like his father, Junior didn't have some nefarious past and only had a single speeding ticket on his record. So the moral of this part of the story is you can't always judge people on their background. Sometimes people with a past can become the best people, and those without a past can be the worst. I'll keep you updated on what happens with Epren's November 6th trial. Oddly enough, I looked on his church's calendar, and they haven't marked that date as an event. So weird. You'd think they'd want everyone to know about that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, join, comment, and stomp your feet to whatever beat your drummer is playing. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.